Hey, we're on the air again. YouTube's letting us on for
Hey,
another week. Looks like we won't have to worry about going off the air for another week, but
once more into the disgusting, dirty, terrible breach.
I have to. I always get audio bump. Like there's an audio delay that always gets bombarded into my ear, and it's like 10 seconds after the show starts, and I always forget about that. So I got it this time, though. I got it. This is USfanTV. We are going to talk about the game tonight against Panama. We're going to try not to sing David Lee Roth. And then we're going to talk about the women's
Says you.
game coming up on Friday against France. And
Les Français, les Bleus,
that's what we're gonna do.
Sacre Bleu.
As far as you know what, before we talk about anything, we had better tell you who we are. I am Pat.
Who are
He
we?
is Chris.
I am Chris.
And also
And
with us tonight, the minivan dad, TJ.
And I am neither Pat nor Chris, but unlike Pat, I am not cranky at this point in the evening.
I'm always cranky.
Well, it's past your bed. It's past your bedtime.
It is. I do this for you, though, the USFanTV viewer. If the game had been 0-0 at the end, I think we collectively as a show would have been kind of grumpy. Not terribly grumpy because, I mean, he rotated all 11 players, which I believe was definitely the right call in this instance. And it worked and things are good. And we haven't given up a goal and we won the group and we're going to Philadelphia Sunday.
He didn't rotate all 11. He rotated 10.
He rotated 10.
Yeah. Zach Steffen still started.
I thought Sean Johnson started.
Did Sean Johnson put in it? No.
Yeah.
Shows you how close I was paying attention.
Racist.
So, I was cleaning.
So that's a good thing. Like, it was hot in Kansas City, and you know, for the people who paid to go there, you're probably mildly miffed, but you got to see Pulisic. What do you want? You got to see Pulisic get fouled in a CONCACAF manner. But yeah, I mean, I as down as we were on the team,
was thankful that Roman Torres wasn't playing because I would have been seriously concerned about Pulisic's career. The way that
Chelsea was thankful for that too. I guess, you know, for as down as we were on the team, where a few weeks ago we even wondered if we'd make it out of the group the way we were playing. You escape with a win tonight, having, you know, rotated all 11 with a Josie bicycle kick, and now you're right where you want to be, and everybody's rested, and things are looking okay. And we've got Curacao, which they're playing well, but I would think
Curacao.
I would think we've got a good chance. So
is Josie's goal? It's not even goal of the night. That's the sad part of it all.
Well, I mean, if you're comparing it to Wayne Rooney's.
Well, yeah, Wayne Rooney's, and then of course, I don't know. I feel like, would you call it a goal of the night or the Atlanta PK miss at the death that cost them the game?
I've seen tell of this upon the Twitters, but I've not seen that.
Oh, he blasted it right over the crossbar. It was awesome. So, Pat, let me start with a question for Chris, because it's always a good Chris question to start with.
So it's frightening when you have questions too. We never know what it's going to be.
No, we really don't. Chris,
I know where it's going.
I need Chris to talk about the refereeing tonight and the conspiracy that CONCACAF was letting Panama's players beat the holy hell out of the U.S. players. So where's the conspiracy there, Chris?
I'm not necessarily saying. To me, it's not that it's a conspiracy. It's just
accepted garbage.
Yeah. I mean, like, I complain about the refs. Like, TJ makes this into like I have some kind of. I'm talking now to all of the viewers. TJ turns this into like it's some kind of giant conspiracy. It's not that I believe in conspiracies. It's that I just accept it.
Wait. You are the conspiracy expert.
No, not true.
Soccer Breitbart.
No, I fully accept that there are teams that get different refereeing, and it goes on throughout the world, but it goes on particularly badly in CONCACAF. And we are one of those teams. You know, we do not get. There's no such thing as like home refereeing for the U.S. Doesn't matter where we are.
I would agree with Chris. It was just, I don't know that it was deliberately one-sided. I think it's just bad. I think you've got a bunch of Central American countries, a lot of which like to play dirty, and it's just kind of accepted in CONCACAF, and the refs aren't that good. And Mexico deals with some of it too. They just dive more than we do to kind of make up for it. But it's the standard is always lower, and that includes us as far as the standard goes, but of soccer in general. But it's just bad. And I think I don't think anyone got hurt.
No.
And
No.
I think to escape without anyone getting hurt is a good thing. So.
And I didn't go, Chris.
I was gonna say, like, this game was boring, kind of needless in that we both played teams that you would assume won't play again throughout the tournament. But I don't know, it served its purpose effectively. All we had to do was get a result of any kind, and we won the group. But you wanted to rest guys. You wanted to probably give Josie some playing time. I was surprised I really thought he would come off maybe at the 60th minute or something. One, just because he is coming back, but two, Josie's history with injuries in tournaments. Do you want to give him more playing time than you have to? So it served its purpose. We got the result, and nobody got hurt. It was, in a sense, it was like a Camp Cupcake game. It's like all you wanted to do was just see them kind of play together and get off the field.
Do you rest Josie on Sunday with the intention of starting him against Panama again?
Probably
yes.
Do.
I think you treat Josie tonight kind of like Berhalter did with Pulisic, or on the weekend like you did with with Pulisic tonight. 75th minute, 65th, depending on the flow of the game. But that's when you would bring him on if you need to. If you don't need to, you save him completely. Because like Chris said, he can and will get hurt. I mean, that's the nature of Josie in tournaments. It's just a curse that he has.
Bigger, like more jacked than I ever remember him too, and he's always been.
I couldn't tell if that was him or if it was more that just the guys he was always standing next to were just so much smaller.
He's like enormous.
Well, HGH is a wonderful thing.
When we saw him,
we're making HGH allegations. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Remember when we saw him at the Men in Blazers show, and like he walked out, and that dude in the crowd was like, "You big as fuck!" Started laughing.
He was funny too, by the way.
Yeah.
But
yeah, oh yeah, he was awesome. Like my I don't know, my respect for him, my love of whatever, like totally went up markedly at that event, because he was like really personable. He was funny. He was cool. I like it when I see or have some interaction with like our team players, and they turn out to be like kind of what you hope them to be. Like they're not dicks or anything. They're cool. They have funny things to say.
I hope I'd like to see you aspire to do that. I'd like to see you aspire to do that one of these days.
Fuck that.
I do wonder if let's say Giassi starts Sunday and he goes out and scores a couple, one of them off of his face or whatever.
I also have a soft spot for Giassi because when I met him, he was awesome, as I've talked about many times. I know, but whatever. Does
Greg go, "I'm staying with my boy," or does he say, "No, Josie's clearly the better player"? I wonder I hope that happens, because I mean, if he's in that position, then I hope we at least get to see what he does. I'm not saying I hope that Giassi starts over Josie. I'm a Josie guy in this instance, but we'll see. I'm interested to see how Greg's going to handle it.
And I think honestly, like I said, I think Josie or Giassi on the weekend would be the play, and then keep Josie as fresh as possible, because he's going to be fatigued, and you do want him for the semifinals. But I mean, and if you bring him on at 65 or later, I think you still have him for the semifinals, where if you start him and play him even 70, 75 minutes, you're not going to have him nearly as fresh, obviously. So
I have to say, for all the crap we give the Gold Cup, this has been a better Gold Cup. I like that they changed the rules, so you have to have your best players there if you're going to have them there at all. And I like that they added teams. It kind of mixed things up a little bit, and I've kind of enjoyed this one so far. So hopefully I continue to enjoy it, and that doesn't all come crashing down in sadness, as is wont to happen
Sebastian,
with
I
this
already
team.
commented about the referee. He was shit, but
he was equal. He was bad
it's
equally.
crap. I wouldn't say that exactly. Like, well, I mean, I guess my point is Panama was getting away with far more than we were. But then again, that always happens. Like Panama, especially when the game isn't going their way, they are dirty. And they always are. Like my comment about Roman Torres was partially because that dude's like a straight up criminal. I can't stand that guy. Like he's up there with Nigel de Jong and Kevin Prince Boateng, of guys that like I just cannot stand. And seriously, I would have been worried about Pulisic out there in this game, the way they were playing and what they were getting away with if he was out there, because that dude would have tried to break a femur or something.
Is he up to the level of Pepe or Marquez?
They would be worse if like my teams truly had to play them more often. No one will get up to Marquez level.
Well, and you really can't get more criminal than Marquez. Really.
That is true.
Noted drug kingpin, Rafa Marquez.
Zero anonymity. Why do you keep speaking in Spanish? I missed something along the way. So I noticed it was already like halfway through the conversation.
He said the ref was shit earlier. I didn't see what's next. He was from Qatar, actually. That's what a lot of people are saying. I don't think I noticed that at the beginning.
Yeah. He just seemed like
Qatar getting so much representation in tournaments around the world right now.
He just seemed like he didn't want to use his cards tonight, and I think Stu Holden commented on that around the 75th minute, saying that he didn't want to give one to put somebody on a yellow going into a knockout game. Which, you know what, I kind of get. I kind of understood that.
I understand it, but
and I don't think
mean you can allow like reckless things to go on.
I don't know.
I mean, hey, whatever. It worked out. Nobody got hurt. More what bothers me about that stuff is when it truly prevents the game from taking place or when people are getting hurt. Like, that's when I truly get upset. And I do feel like there are a lot of instances, particularly in CONCACAF, because so much of it is, crappy teams. They just go out to, I don't know, like attack the other team, and that's their way of stopping everyone. It's maybe Cameroon versus England-ish, except for some of the other antics that went on in that Cameroon game to relate it to something recent. I don't like when that stuff happens, and that's the stuff that I complain about.
Because it's all a conspiracy, though.
Lord Drago wants to tell us that Qatar is actually pronounced Qatar. I do remember that from the when we first invaded Iraq. Tom Brokaw would say gutter in his gutter. Enemy sit down live tonight in gutter. Gutter.
Wasn't that a dude in PCU?
Might have been.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the dude who directed Iron Man. He was in PCU. His name Gutter.
I think that is correct, actually. Jon Favreau, yeah. I doubt anyone watching this show has seen that movie, but it is a good movie. You should watch it. Gutter is too mainstream for TJ.
Do you guys think that we could?
Or is that OJ's? I just got it.
Assuming the mix who
that was a TJ mistype.
Assuming the mix disagreed who comments on the show isn't the real one, and I'm not entirely sure it isn't, but let's say it isn't.
To believe.
Has Mix fallen enough at this point playing in the K League that you think we could get him on the show?
I kind of think yes. And
So
I think it would be kind of fun.
somebody tweet him. Let's get on it.
I think that would be outstanding. I think
We'll schedule him, and then it'll be whatever time and wherever he's living now, and then the YouTube won't work. That's what
probably true. We'll build it up for a week. We'll be teasing it, and nope.
I'm scared to even say that we're doing a show on Twitter or whatever, because I don't know that we are. It's every time we come on, it's a surprise that we even get to do it at this point.
And really, that's it's twofold. One is that Google Hangout's going to work, and the other is, if you're not there, Chris running the technology. I mean, there are equally chances of bad happening when either one occurs. So yeah, I guess that is kind of an issue. So really, is there anything more to talk about?
For me, the last time I tried, it's worked all the times I've done it for the last year or something, until whatever, last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever. What game was that we tried to do that and then nothing worked? In that case, it was just sort of like bad luck and bad timing. That was
the first game.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
It seems like it was 3 weeks ago now.
Feels like it. Was there really anything more in that game to talk about? I got nothing from it other than.
I guess we look ahead to Sunday night. You don't want to say it's a win because you never know. I think we've learned our lesson on that. But obviously Curaçao's playing well. But I feel confident. I shouldn't, but I do. So, and that would put us in prime position. At what point, guys, do we actually buy tickets to the final? And I say that because I do wonder this. I'm not paying $95 for American Outlaws section.
I'm gonna take kids too if I do this. So it may
$45 is
time.
better.
It may be the first time I've gone to a US game and not sat in a supporter section in 15 years.
The other, the flip side, if you don't sit with AO, which is fine for most games if you don't want to, but for this one, assuming we're playing Mexico, you're going to be in the Mexico section then if you're not in AO, and I think that ends with Chris in the Cook County Jail. So, come on out for a good time.
Kids with me, I have to behave. But
I don't think that's against Mexico. That doesn't stop you, Chris.
Lori would force that too.
Lori would take the kids and just leave you in jail is what would happen. Call it for what it is.
Maybe.
By the way, I have your American flag cowboy hat. Should we get to that point?
I thought about that the other day. I was like, huh.
I found it in the if we're just going to talk about things on the show that don't need to be over the air.
Yeah.
Found it in the cabinet the other day. You wore it 2 years ago for the Gold Cup match against Panama, where my head burned.
That's why I thought of it was we were playing Panama, and I was like, come to think of it, last time we played Panama in the Gold Cup. Speaking of, so anyway, after the Philadelphia quarters, we have, I guess technically before that, but after in terms of what we're talking about here, we do have a slightly more important game for the women on Friday.
Big one. It does seem
probably the game of the tournament. So
it seems a bit
nice job with your scheduling there.
I was going to say, it seems a bit off that we're getting a game that should be the final at this point in the quarterfinal. But it is what it is. I suppose I don't feel all that confident for our women's national team. I'm never totally unconfident about them like I am the men, but playing a very, very good host team is going to be really difficult.
Well, go ahead, Chris.
I kind of have a couple issues too. All the stuff that's blown up about Rapinoe saying that she's not going to the White House and things.
Does that surprise anyone?
I'm more surprised when athletes these days say they are going,
Especially Rapinoe. Of course she wasn't going.
I know. I don't get why anyone has an issue with it. But the one thing I do have an issue with is that they're talking about it. This to me is a bit like when the St. Louis Post-Dispatch ran the congratulations on winning the Stanley Cup before Game 6. It was like, and then of course we lost Game 6. It's like, don't talk about this right now. Don't talk about going to the White House right now, because you don't want to talk about, like, why do you get invited to the White House? Because you won. Don't talk about that right now. You keep that shit quiet, because you don't jinx anything. Like, you don't, or just give the other team more reasons to, like, I don't know, want to beat you. One of the things I don't like about, like, I should say, I like and don't like about what the women have been doing in this tournament. They're kind of riding that cocky line really hard, and
part of me really enjoys it. To be honest,
part of me likes the swagger, but part of me also says, like, shut up, stop trying to, like, write these checks early, because I don't want somebody using this as incentive to come and, like, shove it down your throat and be like, oh, what are you gonna do now? You know, like, stomp on your neck and go, hey, what are you gonna say now? Wait until you've secured it, and then run your mouth. And then by all means, hey, part of what makes sports fun is the ability to, like, go rub it in somebody's face.
You know,
But I don't like doing it ahead of time.
Kind of to put it back on track, because Kim McCauley had a good piece for SB Nation talking about it. Basically, that they're winning in spite of Jill Ellis, not because of Jill Ellis coaching this
That's
team.
probably fair.
And I feel like this is the same argument that was made 4 years ago, like 4 years ago, even beyond that, like before that, was this has always been a team that's won in spite of her because they have superior talent all the way through. Is this going to hold true? Or I feel like this is a game you need somebody who can actually manage, because France is a good side. And do they have that? That's kind of the question.
Yeah, in the Spain game, I felt like everybody in the world was calling for subs, and she was just sticking with the same old thing, which was working the ball up the left. Rapinoe would get it and then get killed by the Spanish defense and lose it.
Well, and
it just every time we got the ball on a switch over to Tobin, it was a little bit better, but obviously we only scored on penalties, one of which I don't know. But
tactically, I just thought tactically Spain was really good in that game by playing very, very, just reserved in the first half and then playing the high line in the second half. It's just like,
and very physical too, which is something that seemed to be bothering us. So
tactically Spain definitely outmatched the United States. It's just, again, superior talent in this case won out. But isn't half of Spain's team like 18, 19, 20 or something like that? They're all really, it's like a young team that they're going to be good for a while.
I don't know.
And
I'm going to take your word for it.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I heard that during the game. And then my other question on that is 7 of 8 of the teams remaining are European.
Yeah. Well, who cares about women's soccer? The United States, Australia, Japan, and Western
Canada,
Europe. And
sort of Mexico.
It's changing, but that's where we've always been.
Mexico kind of has this weird like dichotomy of, they'll get a ton of people to go watch it, but they won't do anything to, like, build a team, kind of, you know? Apparently no one knows that. So
no, you're not wrong. What are some of the professional games there, aren't they? Don't they draw 20, 30, 40? They've had a couple of games that the attendance has been amazing, but yeah, I don't think it's translated to anything on the international stage yet. Maybe it will. Brazil, I thought, had a pretty good side too in there somewhere.
Robert's got a good question. I think people have been, and I noticed this especially after the 13-0 win, since I'm everybody's resident soccer guy. I'm sure everybody who watches this show is everybody's resident soccer guy in their own world, right? I felt like a lot more people noticed and cared about things. And I remember this happening in 2015 around the final. Yeah, but I don't remember it. It's happened a lot earlier this World Cup. I do think
they've gotten a lot more coverage this time.
Yeah,
I mean, there have been when I'm making fun of like morning news coverage for their inability to pronounce simple names, or they're like, who's this Messiah guy? Which I've never heard that one, but some of them have been that kind of obvious where it's like, really? How? Come on. All you have to do is read it. But yeah, like I've been hearing things like that about the women's team throughout this World Cup. I don't remember as much of that coverage in the past. So that certainly is. I think that certainly has. Maybe that reflects kind of what's going on, or what's going on reflects some of that coverage. Do you have a dog watching over your right shoulder, Pat? Why does it look like there are two glowing dots in the railing above you?
I'm scared now.
Aliens.
It's the light switch, but you just freaked me out. Like seriously freaked me out.
Amityville horror here.
And now that's all I'm going to be able to see when he's talking.
I just noticed it. Now probably everyone's watching for that.
But Chris, but you're pointing out that people are paying attention earlier. That there's a lot of truth to that. Who did they play in the second game? I'm sorry, I'm going to be, but that was on a Sunday. Chile, wasn't it? It was Chile.
Yes.
We went out for brunch after church, and we went to the Art House over it. And I think there was like one TV had the Sox on, but like every other TV in the Art House, which I don't see as a soccer hotspot, had the women's game on at that point. So I thought that was kind of a, with as many other things that's going on, I thought that was kind of a big deal.
The place on Butterfield?
Yeah, that replaced Champs.
Good?
Oh yeah. There was one in Arizona. So
welcome to US Brunch TV.
The Art House has over 100 beers on tap. How can it be bad?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I do, Christian. I am going to be scared. Look at that. It's like
I'm all for.
Do you have a dog watching you? I'm like
Mix being our third zero anonymity.
Cujo's behind him. Or is there Pennywise?
I think I've noticed that before, but I've always forgotten to say something right then.
That's fantastic.
It appeared to be standing out. Like,
what are those two glowing eyes?
I was like, what the hell is going on there?
When did you get a cat?
I don't have a cat. The call's coming from inside the house.
All right. So do we want to do predictions for both of the games coming up?
Yeah, TJ, since you're hosting, we probably should.
Well, I don't know. I feel like we're spending more time talking about the cat.
Actually, you're moving it along. It's great. Gold Cup, I'll say 2-0 USA. For the Women's World Cup, I'll say the USA wins in extra time. Maybe 3-2 or something like that.
I think 1-1 it goes to penalties.
It might go all the way, yeah.
Wow. Chris, that was exactly what I was going to say.
France pulls it out because I don't think Alyssa, is it Nair? I can't remember how you say her. She's not exactly impressing me in goal right now.
And the fact that I agree with Chris is really disturbing the shit out of me tonight. So, but that was my exact thought, was 1-1 going to penalties. But, and yeah. And I have to agree with Chris twice. Damn.
How does it make you feel?
That's how smart I am, ladies and gentlemen.
Like I need a shower. Gold Cup, 3-0. I just think Pulisic is that game. The tenor of that game changed tonight when Pulisic stepped on the field. I don't think Curacao has an answer for him. He's getting paid 75 million to go to Chelsea. Wait, he's pretty good. This just in, and against Curacao, yeah, that's the difference.
I thought about making a joke on Twitter about the fact that he had been on the field like 30 seconds or something when we scored that goal.
Yeah.
It didn't really have anything to do with him, although I did have to wonder, did his presence change the way their defense lined up so that it made other players like Josie eventually more likely to get open. I do think that'll happen against Curacao. I don't want to say 4-0 because I don't want to get, like I was just saying about don't be cocky, don't jinx anything. I don't want to be cocky about this, but I kind of feel like Curaçao's been impressing because nobody's expected anything of them. I kind of feel like maybe when we have our real team out there and we're truly playing to win, something else might like things kind of will start going our way. I still question. I mean, like we played Guyana, not impressive. We played Panama tonight with not a real team. We played Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, but I mean, Curacao has like stroopwafels and bitterball and other Dutch things that power them up, so they'll be all right. I think we'll win. I don't want to like people are saying 7-0, 8-0. Maybe, but I'm not going to be that guy on this show. So
yeah, I don't see us from here on out scoring more than we already have, but I do see where this game should like. I don't see Curacao truly, truly like being a danger or a real risk during the game. That said, there could have been a goal by Panama like 35 minutes in. What was it? I can't remember what the ball was that like beat Omar, and then I don't remember who their striker was. Now that like they don't have their like the guys they've had for the last 10 years playing for them, I don't know all their names anymore. But their striker like totally choked on that shot. He kind of screwed up with his first touch to play himself wider than he needed to, and then he also shanked it, bending off to the right. But if he was a better striker, like they probably should have been up 1-0 right there. So I won't say that was my long way of saying I'm not saying Curacao couldn't luck into a goal. I mean, it could be sort of like that St. Vincent and the Grenadines game where whatever it was, 15 minutes in, they got a goal and it was like, oh, come on, are you kidding me? And then we went on to score 6 more. It could be something similar to that. They may. I'm still not secure in who is our starting back four right now. I'm not entirely sure I know. So I'm not set on our defense can keep anyone out. That said, I don't see them being a real threat.
We'll see. Hopefully not.
To the long-term presence of the game. I'm still not like, to me, the difference is, can we break them down and score? And while sure, once we've scored 1 or 2, the floodgates have kind of opened in this tournament, we've still struggled at times. I mean, look at the first halves of those games. Like, you didn't necessarily think in the first 2 games anyway, but I suppose you could say the same tonight, although I'm kind of discounting tonight just because it was such a different lineup. But in those first 2 games, the first half didn't give you a real indication that this was going to turn into a rout or anything.
Anonymity, it is Pride Month, so I mean, whatever happens, happens. You were talking so long you didn't see his last comment, I'm sure, Chris. He's had a few since then. Yeah, I mean, Simon, there's I'm not worried we're going to lose, but I'm also kind of expecting
I think it'll be harder than it perhaps should be.
Gonzalo just gave us 199 pesos.
That is amazing.
Like, thank you, Gonzalo. I have no idea how much that is.
Translates to.
I have no idea how much it is, but I think that's fantastic. Thank you very much. So yeah, it's we'll see. I'm fully expecting there to be a US-Mexico game in Chicago on July 7th. So, and those are the best games. $20. Wow. Thank you so much. That's really, we really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully we can, figure out, how to keep the show going after YouTube takes us away again with their Hangouts issue. So I know you can like work Skype and other programs through OBS and then back to YouTube. but it was requiring a lot of window resizing and clicking and switching that I would have had to do while also talking. And I know I don't ever say anything interesting, so I could have just shut up the whole show and let you two idiots do it. But that didn't seem fun. So oh. You know, short of the woman showing up, there was like a Jesus woman that showed up, and then there was the we were going to burn in hell on that show. And then there was the woman who asked if you'd ever been inside a woman, Chris.
Oh God, do we have to bring that up again?
And then there's all the Hope Solo people, and everything that went down with that. Anonymity still brings it every show with the like TJ and Chris kiss for $20. How many roses?
You just never know. You never know.
This is when I get like I'll finish the show and I'll go and Laura will be like, "What was going on in those comments? What the hell's wrong with these people?"
Well, considering they go to us, they watch us either for entertainment and or informed conversation. That should say a lot right there.
No one ever comments on TJ's shirt, by the way. Has anyone commented on TJ's shirt?
I don't know. It's not that impressive. You seem more enamored with it, Pat, than anybody tonight.
It's just funny that you have a shirt that references a guy on Twitter.
I didn't realize they made shirts for that.
Yeah, you're not holding any kind of children, TJ. That's crazy.
No, she's
on the floor.
Yeah, pretty much. No, she fell asleep in decent time tonight. It was kind of a rarity. It's weird. I didn't have to drive anywhere or anything. It's been weird tonight. So
Jeremy doesn't like me talking about the Blues. He and I were going back and forth on Twitter during the game about it. Jameson says, from what he sees, the women play too much kick and run. That's absolutely the case. Like, I know somebody said they don't like how when people congratulate the women, they trash the men or whatever. One of my
I'm getting tired of that.
Yeah,
it's
become particularly strong on Twitter. Like,
it's bullshit. Like that Deadspin article, that Zero Research Deadspin article that 3 months ago the Men's Players Association put out a statement jointly calling for the women to be paid equally. And as I pointed out to you, Chris, if you look at the most recent 990, the highest paid players are all women. So it's just a matter of fine tuning the per diems and the travel accommodations and things like that, which is fine. And then whatever they work out with is, the prize money with FIFA. But yeah, the idea that the men are somehow evil, or that, like, let's say you don't understand soccer and there's the idea that the men are bad, which, comparatively as a men's team, they're not great, but comparatively they're playing much tougher competition.
My thing is the women,
I hate that it's
effectively the teams are equal in terms of like talent.
I think so too.
Like one of my big issues is when I watch women's games is listening to some of the congratulatory comments from the people calling the game. When I see things that should have had them destroyed, I'm like, that pass should have been picked off. If they played true defense here, they couldn't have made that pass. If they played true defense here, when we say like Josie has we said Josie can be stone-footed. When we talk about Giazzi having a stone foot, when we talk about Jordan Morris, all three of them, frankly, would be stars on the women's team because I watch all those same things happen. The women look better because they have an extra 5 yards of space to like get a second touch to control the ball. Or, it's a hell of a lot easier for anybody to control the ball when there's not pressure from somebody who's going to like stomp on you in a half second if you don't control that ball perfectly. And
it's not like a women's soccer versus men's soccer thing. It's just that I think, TJ, you referenced Kim McCauley earlier. She said something about a week ago, basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it's, in 10 years, all these other countries that that don't care about women's soccer, but train that do really well in men's soccer are going to catch up, and suddenly we might still be good or we might not. But I get the sense that a lot of our success, not all of it, but a lot of it comes down to the fact that,
it's college
your
soccer. Like
Argentinas don't care.
Well,
It's or just don't care yet,
it's
right? It's
like and this is what I was getting at when like kind of my long story there was that the what's made the men not compete really, and what's allowed the women to compete for so long is college soccer. For most of the rest of the world, there was no platform on which
right,
women could
true.
play soccer like anywhere near full time. Sure, there was a forebear to the Women's World Cup prior to 1990, but 90 the right one? I think that's 90. But no, not 90. 95. 95 is the first one, right? Officially, whatever. I can't think of it, but it doesn't matter. The point is, there were tournaments before that. They were holding things. Technically, teams did exist, but there wasn't a platform to like train and practice and build a team and have a cohesive unit of players in most of the rest of the world, as like all these
Right.
mainstream clubs across Europe, and now it's expanding, but largely in Europe, have added women's teams. They're just taking the foundation they already have and making a women's version of it. So this advantage that the U.S. had is now becoming the same disadvantage, same anchor on them that has been on the men. That we weren't building players at 18; we were building them at 22, and the women are going to have the same problem the men do eventually, which
And
is
honestly,
if you're not already a professional at 17, 18, you're not going to be as good come 23 or 24, and your window to grow is cut in half.
there are lots of things that are different about the two situations too, that have nothing to do with the US women. They play the people who are put in front of them and play in the system that's put in front of them. But one thing I considered was, we all, like, pretty much everybody agrees there shouldn't be a gold cup every 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if we made the other one, the one that's in 2 years, the women's gold cup? What if you actually had something like that for the women of this confederation? And what if you actually had real World Cup qualifying, where
Yeah.
it wasn't just a week in North Carolina to decide who goes to the World Cup? What if you actually had some level of real World Cup qualifying?
You actually
Like,
had to travel to other countries to play your games.
like, let's
You
do it.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people who probably don't want to because they don't think money's in it. But if that many people are watching Brazil in Brazil, and the TV ratings are up that much for this, do it. And then it is,
Thanks, anonymity. No, it's
is he
not.
calling us gay again?
He's calling us douches for talking about this. My point isn't that whatever, it's not necessarily meant to be detrimental to the women or positive to the men. Even it's that we have the same flaws on both sides, and the women have, in a sense, to most viewers, they get a pass because it's not as good of a game. At a World Cup there are amateur teams. Like, when's the last time the men had an amateur team at the World Cup? 1990 with us. So
True.
whatever. Anyway, I don't remember where we were before that. Yeah, I tend to think France is gonna, like, if we look at kind of how things have gone over the last couple of years, I tend to think France is going to hold the U.S. I've not been impressed with Alyssa Nair.
Nair.
Thank you. I'm like, I can't remember. In goal, so I could see where in a shootout it doesn't turn out well. But I mean, I think these it's going to be the game of the tournament. They are
Yeah.
the two best teams.
It's
It's unfortunate that effectively the rest of the tournament is, I think, going to be chalk.
I don't know. The Germans are good. The English are good. The Dutch are pretty good, although I think they should have lost to Japan.
I think they have good teams. I don't think anyone right now
Is up to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. We'll see. We got to get through this one first. Even American soccer Don King, Alexi Lalas didn't pick us. He picked France. So we'll see. He's just picking the thing that gets him the most attention. I know how he operates, but
it's lawless. He's just trying to get comments.
I
clicks.
genuinely have no idea.
No, and that's probably the thing with all that. You don't. This is the first game in this tournament where you're going. Because they were expected to beat Spain handily. That obviously that didn't happen. Right. So you're going, well, I don't know. If this game's played in the US, I would have a lot more confidence in the result going into it. But the fact that it's being played in France, I think adds to it. And that's why it's coin flip to me.
And it might come down to coaching, and at that point,
well, then they're screwed.
We'll see how good Jill is. So,
and then they're screwed. So,
somebody asked earlier if you start Carly Lloyd. I think you probably do.
I mean, unless you're thinking that it's gonna be tied around the 75th, and you want to send her on as a last-minute goal. My take is, yeah, you start her because you start your best players. This is your biggest game. Quite frankly, I don't think if you can get past this game, I think it's kind of downhill from here. I'm not saying it's like a steep drop off, but I think it's kind of downhill from here. So yeah, you start your best lineup because you have to win this. If you win this, presumably you're in the final.
And I think I tend to agree with Pat on this one. I think you set up this game for 120 minutes. I don't think as much as you don't want to having her in the 75th minute and to go for that extra 30 against tired legs. That's
so maybe you
play.
send on Mal Pugh. I mean, she seems to be the super sub right now.
By the way, I went to Dick's Sporting Goods, speaking of Mal Pugh, and they had a bunch of printed US jerseys, which is the first time I've ever seen that for either team. Because Dick's usually doesn't have, they're getting it more often, but they usually didn't have printed stuff.
I did see some the other day for Alex Morgan.
There were a lot of Alex Morgans, and there were a lot of Mal Pughs, and that was it. And it struck me as odd that she was the second choice, she was the second option of the two.
She's definitely been crowned as sort of the future, and I think that's resonating. I mean, yeah, in Chicago, you can see where Kristen Press or somebody had jerseys.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't play here anymore, but Julie Ertz,
she did,
or Rapinoe, or
Julie Ertz, yeah,
Carly Lloyd, or one of the pop,
I probably should have said I'm surprised there wasn't Rapinoe jerseys there.
Yeah, nice to see printed jerseys though at
Glassdoor,
a big box store. We talked about that a little bit, but the New York Times article came out since then.
Start your best players, mind blown. That's the kind of deep, intense inspection you get here, Robert.
Well,
do we write down topics?
Some nights.
Depends on the week. For this
door.
Yeah. That's really an ugly that's almost like small market television news ugly. As far as workplace.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I've heard a lot of people kind of downplay it as, well, it's Glassdoor. It's kind of made for shitting on your employer, and it is. Don't get me wrong. And just
Chris, I'm a professional at that.
I have had to log into Glassdoor for work reasons in the past.
So
I can say it is a place where sometimes I worked in public relations for a number of years. I had to go check some of these things out. And yes, it is a place people go to shit on their employer. That said, and you can also add that you're more likely to get complaints than you are compliments about almost anything. If you give people the forum, they're more likely to complain than they are to say something nice. But these are all so close to kind of what we know to be true anyway. Like, just the general experience I think we all have as fans or people who have interacted with US soccer in any way, that I tend to believe everything is factual. That it's not just everyone got together and came up with a story, or one person made 1,500 logins and just typed up their same story, slightly different each time. I think this is a concerted effort by
Yeah, the
real
Times
employees.
article had other people that were confirming the things that were
Yeah.
being said.
Well,
So
but even that, like, everyone's an anonymous source, so you can always, there's always the ability to like kind of write it off as, yeah, but we can't verify. We don't have anyone come out and say, oh, okay. So there's always that sort of like element of doubt to it, or there can be that element of doubt. My take though is the experience that like the rest of us have had with it kind of indicates that US soccer has a lot of issues going on. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they're shitting on their employees. Like, they can't fix basic things. Like, Pat and I have reached out to them before to say, like, look, could we help you here? Because as like former journalists and PR people, we could give you some tips on how to handle this. And they, like, nothing ever
I
changed.
tried to give them money. Like 2 years ago, they had that membership scheme that they just switched to the new thing. I had a question about it that I wanted answered before I gave them $55 or whatever it was back then. I couldn't get an answer. At the email that was set up solely for the membership thing, no one would answer me. I don't think things are running all that smoothly there. So, unless you're a Berhalter, but yeah, it seems like a lot of people are mad, and I don't know much about Jay Berhalter. He might be a great choice for CEO. I have no idea, but it seems like a lot of people are mad, and they might just be mad because they're just angry in general, and they know that his brother's the head coach, and they think it's all a good old boys club. But maybe,
which is kind of what they
I
were
don't know.
saying.
I don't know.
It's not a good look that certain people keep getting ahead there, and that a family name can benefit you on both sides of the equation.
Hey, but everybody keeps,
whether it's good or not.
but everybody keeps saying that US soccer needs to emulate the rest of the world, and I feel like they're doing that with their level of internal corruption. You look at any good federation, Italy, Mexico, England, probably Germany's in Germany, that then they've all got the levels of corruption. I don't see why the US has to be any different here.
Fair.
I guess.
And it is Chicago. I mean,
vote early and vote often.
That's how we do things. All right. I think we're good. This is USFanTV. We have social media and whatnot. You can go check them out if you want to.
Whatnot.
TJ, do you have any final words?
You're done.
Chris?
You're done and whatnot.
We'll do a show when we do a show and YouTube works for us. So we'll see you maybe Sunday night. Maybe. I don't know. Don't know. Until then, you're done.